The time is always right to do what is right. Martin Luther King. But what is actually right, and what is not? You see, morality is an age-old concept that has sparked countless debates over the history of man. It also has been studied by notable individuals as well, such as Aristotle, who is known for his concept of virtue ethics, Immanuel Kant, who is a German philosopher and the proponent of the categorical imperative, which emphasizes the moral duty of humans, and John Rawls, an American philosopher known for his work on political philosophy and the theory of justice as fairness. Of course, we also have our daily social media conversations about what is right and what is wrong. We got these influencers who bombard us with their daily reflections and beautifully photoshopped quotes. In fact, some of the ones I find on Facebook or Instagram are quite amenable to my moral instances. Anyway, the subject of morals is as subjective as it is seemingly well defined. The thing is, all of us have different moral values. We have different ways of seeing social issues and dealing with matters that touch our conscience. Some of us think that same-sex marriage is already acceptable, while others perceive that Black Lives Matter is the most important movement in the 21st century. We have to take into account that our backgrounds and upbringings are different, which naturally causes our diversity when it comes to our moral stances and beliefs. From your immediate environment to the friends you choose down to the religion you practice, these external influences do affect our inner workings. In fact, there's a good chance that your opinions and pursuits are driven by these externalities. So the question is, how do you fix the moral degradation around us if our lenses are different when it comes to this matter? But first, here are some quick facts about this morality quandary. According to the latest research by Gallup, a record high 50% of Americans said that the moral values in the United States are poor. But it is interesting to note that this poor rating is due to the increasing negative assessments of Republicans. In this research, 72% of Republicans have aggressively mentioned that the moral state of the U.S. is declining. But in general, the collective thought of the nation is somehow leaning toward the pessimism of its people about its morality. Again, that's based on Gallup's research. As high as 78% said that the morale of the country is getting worse. When asked to cite which common moral issues they think are prevalent, respondents didn't touch on societal problems or nationwide debates. Rather, most of them mentioned that the biggest problem in the country is actually the fundamental aspect of the way people treat each other. Sense of entitlement, lack of morals, and lack of moral structure are also cited. If you want to learn more about this research, there is a link below for that. But in a nutshell, it seems that there's a general consensus that moral degradation is a problem that requires our attention. So how do we fix moral degradation? And is it something that can still be fixed? To be honest, it's difficult to deal with this problem. It's like patching a huge hole in a boat's hull, and the only tool you have is glue. Fortunately, we don't have to sink yet. Collective, well-driven actions must take place to ensure that we can address fundamental issues to our morality. And based on the American Speech-Language Hearing Association, the process of doing this can be pretty scientific. The American Speech-Language Hearing Association has outlined several steps on how to do this seemingly exhaustive task. I will elaborate and explain these procedures the best way I can. And believe it or not, the process is pretty straightforward. First, you want to understand the problem. Think of this like a detective trying to get to the bottom of a mystery. Ask yourself, what's really going on here? To figure that out, you'll need to do some introspection, have some deep and meaningful conversations with others involved, and possibly do some research. Pinning down exactly what the moral issue forms the basis for everything that comes next. Don't dive into a situation or issue that you don't understand. That's what most people do on social media these days. And they do it for the clout. Next up, you'll want to gather as much information as you can, sort of like gathering all the pieces of a puzzle. To do this, you might need to get familiar with the rules and regulations that apply to your situation, whether they're federal, state, or local. In short, We need our moral values to be founded on evidence. Don't anchor it on your feelings. Otherwise, it will just be clouded. Once you've got all the facts, it's time to determine if your problem is due to a rule being broken or if it has more to do with how those rules are being applied. It's a bit like figuring out if someone's not following the recipe or if there's an issue with the recipe itself. Let's take the case of racism as an example. Racism usually occurs when there's a disparity in treatment and opportunities between people of different colors. The moral issue here is there's inequality, even though the system inherently said that everyone should be treated fairly. Of course, it is not just the system that has the problem here. In fact, we have sets of standards that cause us to vary our behavior depending on who we are engaging with. I know I'm guilty of this. You might be too. Here's a controversial one. Power dynamics play a big role in any situation, so take some time to identify who holds the reins. Who has the ability to make decisions or influence others? Knowing this can help you navigate the situation more effectively, kind of like understanding the currents when you're out on a boat. Because as I've said, your morality is often influenced by external stimuli. If we want to address moral degradation, we also need to identify the existing authorities, systems, and rules to see whether or not they play a part in the problem. Along with that, it's important to know what you can control in the situation and what you can't. It's a bit like being a gardener. You can water and feed your plants, but you can't control the weather. Once you know what you can influence, you can focus your efforts there. Don't handle things that are too much for you. It will cause unnecessary exhaustion and frustration. Only eat what you can chew. Then, you want to identify your resources, who or what can help you tackle this issue. This could be anyone from a supervisor to a colleague who's faced a similar situation, or even documents or guides that can offer insight. Once you've done that, it's time to brainstorm possible actions, considering the potential upsides and downsides of each. It's like laying out all your clothes before deciding what to wear for a big event. Having the full range of options in front of you can help you make the best decision. There's always a possibility that a moral problem requires a multifaceted solution. For example, behavioral change starts in oneself, but the family environment can also help as well. The school and the society, even the economy, can aid people to change for the better. I mean, a good standard of living would make someone less grumpy, right? Then, you want to make a plan that meets all the rules and regulations, but also one that you can stand behind both professionally and morally. Think of this as drawing up a blueprint before you start building a house. This plan will guide your actions going forward. Finally, you've got to put that plan into action, but remember, it's not set in stone. Just like a pilot adjusting their course during a flight, you should be ready to revise your plan based on how things are going or if there are any changes in the situation. Continuous evaluation and flexibility are essential to finding the most effective solution. Thank you for listening. This is Beyond Life, and I hope that you enjoy this video. Please help the channel grow by clicking the like and subscribe buttons. Stay safe, and see you in the next one.